All right, so hello everyone. It's good to see you again. I saw some of you last week. My name is Miss Liz, and today we're going to talk to you guys about food in 3 different countries, in Cuba, Spain, and El Salvador. So I have 3 of my students from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, Sammi and Ava and Jake, and they're going to teach you all a little bit about some different types of food today. You guys ready? Ready to learn some new things? Yeah? All right.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jake. I'm a first year here at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, but I'm originally from Syracuse, New York, born and raised. My background, I'm Mi'kmaq, which is a Native American tribe, as well as Italian American and Jewish. My majors are American Indian, Indigenous Studies, and Contemporary European Studies, and I'm going to be minoring in either Spanish or Russian. I haven't really decided yet. And my global learning background is that before coming to UNC, I took a gap year on which I went to Cuba, Navajo Nation, Israel, Scandinavia, and some different parts of Canada.
Hi everyone, I'm Ava. I'm from Carborough, North Carolina, so very close to Chapel Hill. And I speak Spanish and English. And I was in a dual language program in elementary school, so I got to spend half the day in Spanish and half the day in English learning. And so that's how I started learning Spanish. And I'm studying Spanish at UNC. And I am also studying global studies, and I'm focusing on, you get to pick a region of the world to focus on, and I'm focusing on Latin America. And I have traveled to Spain, Cuba, and Costa Rica.
Hello, everyone. My name's Sammi. I speak Spanish and Arabic and English, and my family's from El Salvador. I'm studying global studies and management, and I've traveled to El Salvador, Tunisia, and Turkey. For those who don't know where Tunisia is, it's in Africa. So I lived there for like 2, 3 months.
So to start out our lesson today, oh, sorry, am I interrupting you, Liz?
I was just going to check and see if anybody in the group speaks another language, or is anyone learning any other languages? You can raise your hand if you speak other languages or you're learning. Yeah, I see a couple. All right, go ahead, Jake. Sorry.
No worries at all. So to start out our lesson today on foods from some different parts of the world, I wanted to ask all of you if you've ever tried any type of food from around the world, any type of food that isn't American food. If anyone wants to raise their hands. Alexander?
I tried Chinese.
Do you remember what you ate?
Yeah, there's lots of stuff there. Lots. Not one.
Anyone else?
Anyone been to a Mexican restaurant, eaten Mexican food maybe, or Japanese food?
By the way, Liz, if you want to call on people, you can. I don't think I can see everyone on my screen.
All right, I'll call if I see. I think I see Chase maybe raising a hand.
I have a ostrich.
You've had ostrich?
I've had Mexican.
Mm-hmm.
And I have emu.
Okay. All right, we'll go to the next one.
So the first question I'm going to ask, which all of you will learn shortly if you don't know now, is the 3 countries we're talking about and where they're located. So the first question, does anyone know where Cuba is located? Certain region of the world. It's a bit below North America, but not all the way down in South America. Okay, well, so Cuba is located in the Caribbean, which is a whole bunch of islands that are south of the United States, between the United States and South America. Does anyone know where El Salvador is located?
We can give you some choices. You can see if you think it's in Central America or South America. If you think it's in Central America, you can give us a 1 finger. If you think it's in South America, you can give us 2 fingers. See some 2s. All right, most of them are guessing 2, South America.
Well,
yes,
it's actually in Central America. You see at the bottom right of this slide, there's a little map of some parts of Central America. Central America is a really thin piece of land that connects North and South America, and El Salvador is located on the coast there. So the last question on this slide, does anyone know what continent Spain is located in?
And again, we can give you some choices. Oh, I think we've got a hand. Anybody else? Alex, do you know what continent Spain is on?
France.
It's near France. You're right. Yeah. You guys think it's in Europe or in Asia? You can give me a 1 if you think it's in Europe and a 2 if you think it's in Asia. I see lots of 1s. Yeah, you're right. It's in Europe.
Yes. So this slide here is explaining the 3 countries that we're talking about today. If you see on the left, that big green landmass is the United States and Canada, with a circle where we are here in North Carolina. Cuba is directly south of Florida in the Caribbean, that region that I mentioned with all of the islands. You can see El Salvador there on the ocean in the little land that connects North and South America and Central America. And then you can see Spain is on the western coast of Europe, right near France and right north of Morocco, which is a country in Africa. Okay, you can go to the next slide, Liz. So to provide a bit of context, the first country we're going to be talking about today is Cuba. So I spent 3 months in Cuba over my gap year teaching at a school. And a lot of people don't realize, but Cuba is actually one of the closest countries to the United States. So you see in both of these maps, Cuba is a long island kind of shaped like a crocodile that's right beneath the US state of Florida. It's actually only 90 miles from Florida to Havana, which is its capital city. Here are some pictures of Cuba. A lot of you have probably seen pictures like the one in the upper left with the old cars and the colorful buildings, but Cuba's a lot more than that. They have beautiful mountains and valleys, like on the upper right, where a lot of sugar and coffee are grown. They have cities with ancient churches, 400, 500 years old, beautiful beaches, and then smaller towns like the one on the bottom right as well, which is in the middle of the island. Okay, some facts about Cuba. The capital of Cuba and its largest city is Havana. There are roughly 4 million people there. It's an awesome city. It's always very alive. It's a lot of fun. The language spoken in Cuba is Spanish. Its leader is a president who is appointed by other people in the government. So in the United States, we elect our president, but in Cuba, the president is appointed by other people in the government. The founders of the country are Fidel Castro and Che Guevara, and the country has been independent from Spain since 1902. It was a Spanish colony for hundreds of years, but in 1902 it finally became its own country. A little fun fact about Cuba is it has one of the highest literacy rates in the world. So what a literacy rate is it's the percentage of people in a country that can read and write. So 99.8% of Cubans are able to read and write in their language, Spanish, which is higher than almost anywhere else in the world. All right, now we've all been waiting to talk about Cuban food, I'm sure. So what we have on our first slide here is 4 different common Cuban foods and different meals they could be eaten at. So all the way on the left, we have a dish called ropa vieja, which in Spanish means old clothes because it's a bunch of shredded vegetables and shredded meat, and people say it looks like a pile of clothes that you need to put into the laundry. And so that's cooked for a really, really long time on a low temperature. It's served with rice and plátanos, which is kind of like a banana, and they fry it up so it's really nice and sweet. Next to that, we have café cubano, or Cuban coffee, which is made in the little, the silver kettle right in back of that cup. There's a lot of sugar in it, which is right at the top of the coffee, and it's the perfect thing on a hot day because it's not too much, but it gets you awake. Next to that, we have granizado, which is kind of like ice cream, not like ice cream, like shaved ice in the United States. It's basically you have a plastic cup and you have shaved ice in it, and then all those different colorful syrups there have a flavor that you put into it, and it's great when it's hot out. And then all the way on the right, you have one of the most famous Cuban foods, which is, of course, the Cuban sandwich, which is, it has ham in it and mustard and pickles, and that's really famous in the United States as well. I think you can even get a Cuban sandwich at Panera.
All right, let's see which one you guys would want to try. Raise your hand if you would like to try the first one, the ropa vieja. Who would want to try that? Chicken, rice, plantains? You guys are a little bit young for coffee, but is there anyone here that wants to try coffee when they're older? That sounds good to me too. Have you guys had shaved ice before? Yeah? Who wants to try the shaved ice? And anybody want to try the Cuban sandwich? Yeah, you guys look hungry. Which one looks the best, the yummiest to you? One person want to raise their hand and say which one they want to try the most? Jose?
Me?
Yeah, which one do you want to try the most?
The shaved ice.
The shaved ice? Maybe one more? Carol Jean, which one do you want to try the most?
Shaved ice.
The shaved ice too. That one looks like a popular one. All right, we'll go to the next one.
Okay, so this is just a typical layout of what people might eat in Cuba during a regular day. For breakfast, they often have sandwiches like that with egg or meat, which you can buy on the street really inexpensive. Lunch is the biggest meal of the day because people go to work in the morning, they come home for lunch, they eat a big lunch with their family, then they go back to work for the afternoon. So the ropa vieja from the last slide, that stew of beef and vegetables, is really popular for lunch. Dinner is usually a little lighter, like the Cuban sandwich that I mentioned. And then either as dessert or at any time of the day, especially the hottest part of the day, people will have that shaved ice that a lot of you were interested in. So this slide is just a little about Cuban and Cuban American food. One of the unique things about Cuba is there are a lot of Cuban Americans in the United States who maintain their culture, and a lot of them live in southern Florida. So there's a part of Miami that's actually called Little Havana because it's like the capital of Cuba. There are so many Cubans there. So in Cuba itself, there's often it's often difficult to find the ingredients you need to make really good big meals. For example, beef can be really hard to find. Cheese can be really hard to find. And that's because there's been a rule for a long time that the United States and Cuba, we don't trade things between our countries. We don't sell things to each other because of a complicated political situation. And so in Cuba, for example, one thing that's really, really popular is pizza. How many of you like pizza? Yeah, so in Cuba, you can buy yourself a personal pizza like that on the street for as little as $1. And so pizzas are really, really popular in Cuba. It's a popular lunch food. You know, if you're in between classes or in between work and you don't have time to make food, it's really cheap to buy a pizza on the street, and it's really popular. Cuban American food, though, they have a lot more of the traditional dishes that I mentioned, and they can eat them more often because in the United States, it's easier to find some of the ingredients like the beef or cheese or different spices that are hard to get in Cuba sometimes.
How would you guys feel if you went to the grocery store and there was no cheese? Would that be surprising? Or no meat? Did you ever go to the grocery store and sometimes they don't have it, they're out of what you want to buy? It's all gone? Or they usually have everything you want? Make you sad they didn't have it? Yeah, that's something different, that sometimes you can't always get everything you want at the grocery store. It depends on what they have in stock. Sometimes that was happening here in the United States back in March. Sometimes the grocery stores didn't have things like toilet paper, right? There was no toilet paper. So sometimes that happens here too. Yeah.
Yeah. When I first went there, it took me 3 weeks to find toilet paper because it was so very difficult to find. And stuff like that. And then, like I mentioned, meat is really hard to find. And besides that, it's really expensive because they have to ship it to Cuba from other places. So it can be really hard for a lot of people there to get everything that they need.
Excuse me?
Yeah, Alex?
I'm also a Peruvian.
Yeah, Alex is Peruvian, so we got to learn about Peru last week.
So this next slide here, a little bit what I talked about. So does anyone know what it means when something is imported?
Import?
So that's a pretty big word. But when something is imported, that means it comes from another country. So, for example, if you were to get Chinese food in the United States, some of the ingredients might have come from China. And because Cuba is not that big of an island and they don't have a lot of ways to make things, between 60 and 80% of everything they eat is imported, or it's from countries besides Cuba. In addition to this, no American foods can be sold in Cuba, including probably some of your favorite things like different types of ice cream or Lay's chips or Coca-Cola. You can't find any of that in Cuba unless you buy it from people rather than the grocery stores, because people can bring it with them if they go to the United States, but businesses can't ship it to Cuba. And that makes life kind of hard for people there a lot of the time. One thing that is never in short supply in Cuba is fruit, of course. So Cuba is a really warm island, and there's a lot of stuff like this, bananas, pineapples, lemons, limes, coconuts. You can always find any of that sort of thing at the market very inexpensively. So even though the diet in Cuba is a little different because they don't have things like chips or soda that are so easy to find here, and even though it's sometimes hard to find meat there, they always have fruit, they always have vegetables, rice, beans, that sort of thing is really easy to find because they grow it right on the island. So it's inexpensive as well. And the last slide that I have here, I believe the last slide, is just some pictures of day-to-day life in Cuba. So at the bottom right is an interesting one. That's the way that kids in Cuba dress to go to school. So could you imagine if you had to wear a little costume like that to school every day? They have scarves. The blue ones indicate that they're between 6 and 9. And they also have red ones that indicate they're between 9 and 12. And then they have those white shirts, and they have either a red skirt or red shorts, depending on if it's a boy or girl. And a lot of the time, because things aren't produced in Cuba a lot, they wear the same uniform that their parents or even their grandparents wore to school, and they pass it down through the families. In the picture above that, you see some people riding on a bus in Cuba. Because it's difficult to bring things into the country, there's not a lot of gas, so buses are often really, really crowded like that. But then on the left, you see some of the best parts about Cuba are there's a lot of music, there's a lot of art. You'll see people like that with their guitars just playing music in the street to share it with other people. And as you walk down the streets of Havana, there's often people selling art, like that lady selling art there. So one of the best things about Cuba is music and art is always all around you.
Good. All right. Do we have any quick questions about Cuba before we move to the next country? That's good. All right. All right.
Hello, everyone. So, to start things off, I wanted to kind of get you an idea of where El Salvador is. So, Central America is what is in between Mexico and South America, and you see that little red country in there. That's El Salvador. So, it's pretty much the tiniest country in Central America. And then the next slide will zoom in. And so these are what we call in Spanish the departamentos, is what we know in English as states, so like North Carolina. And so there's 14 of them, and my family is from the one in the corner that says San Miguel. The capital is San Salvador, that's on your left. And so the main language spoken in El Salvador is Spanish, and an interesting fact is that El Salvador now uses the same currency we do here, which means like the US dollar bill. So any money you have here, you could take to El Salvador and use, and you would be completely fine. They have a lot of people there, is about 6 million. And yeah, I've mentioned the 14 states and capital. And so here's a picture. So the one on the left with the 25 are what we used to use before. This is what we used to call colones. And so what ended up happening is that El Salvador decided to use US currency. So if you go, you can take your dollar bill if you have a piggy bank or anything. Food there is very cheap, so $1 can buy you a lot. They also use the golden dollars, which we haven't seen as much in North Carolina, but they are around. Those are very common in El Salvador. And so the meal times in El Salvador, they eat earlier than we do breakfast. Usually some people can eat as early as 6 a.m. or 6 a.m. And then lunch is a little bit earlier, around 11 to 12:30. And then dinner is usually earlier like 5:30 to 7. And here's a little picture of a town in El Salvador. And so to kick it off, have any of you tried a pupusa? Or know what a pupusa is?
Lisa knows.
So pupusas are tortillas filled with different things. So you can get them with just cheese or beans and cheese, pork, and loroco, which is like for vegetarians. It's like a leafy vegetable that goes in there. And so to give you an idea, it tastes like a quesadilla, but with more tortilla around it. And so when I say you can take your dollar, a pupusa usually costs around 50 to 70 cents each. And so you could buy 3 pupusas for just $1. How many of you have $1 right now in your piggy bank?
Some people have $1. Good.
There you go. You could buy 3 pupusas already. And so this is going to be a quick little video on how they're made. And that what you see there is cheese and pork.
Does anyone make tortillas at their house? Have you ever seen their mom or dad or grandma make tortillas before?
I do.
You do? Yeah, so it's kind of a little bit similar. Use the dough like that. I see a few hands. Yeah, Jose, Abby.
And so one of very common like street food you can find in El Salvador is called Elote Loco. And so pretty much it's corn covered with different toppings, and you can put usually the bottom layer is mayonnaise, and then they'll put mustard, ketchup, cheese, and there's this sauce called salsa negra that is specifically like in El Salvador. I know here in the U.S. you can find them with just cheese, mayonnaise, and any chili, I think, which you can ask for on the side. So pretty much it's if you don't like anything, you can just ask it plain cheese and mayonnaise, but they're very good. So
I think Jose's raising his hand. Did you want to say something, Jose?
That looks very yummy.
You want to try that? The elote loco? Who else wants to try their corn with all those toppings on it? What do you guys think? Mayonnaise, mustard, ketchup? You can raise your hand if you want to try it. See a few hands? Yeah, a few people want to try it. Miss Barsanti wants to try it too.
And so drinks. There's a Salvadorian soda that's called Cola Champaign. And so it's similar to orange Fanta. It has a sugar cane taste to it. Interesting fact is that you can find these at Food Lion if you go to the aisle where it's Hispanic foods. It may look a little different, but you can find these everywhere in El Salvador, approximately like 50 cents. So if you have $1, you can get 2 of them. Okay, and so before I show you what ice cream looks like in El Salvador, I have a quick little question. Which one out of the 3 do you like more? If you like number 1, raise 1 finger. If you like number 2, raise 2 fingers. And if you like number 3, raise 3 fingers. So maybe 2. I see, I think 3s, and there's a lot of people that say 1.
Or 1 and 2.
Yeah. All right. And so we have very similar ice cream like this in El Salvador. On the next slide, you can see, so we have something called choco bananas, which means bananas covered with chocolate. As you see in the picture, sometimes you can add sprinkles and other fruits on top. And then similar to shaved ice cream like Cuba had, we have what we call minutas, which is at the top. And so this is pretty much ice with a cherry flavored sauce and different little fruits. It has mango. I think that's like blueberries and some other sauce on top. And at the very bottom, we have charamuscas, which is similar to a popsicle. It's usually either like a coconut flavor, strawberry. You can usually find these at the stores. And this is pretty much something you have for a snack. It's very sweet.
Does anybody want to share which one they want to try the most? You can raise your hand. Paris, which one do you want to try? The choco bananas, the one with the fruit, or the ones like popsicles? Minutas?
I would try the ones like popsicles.
Yeah.
The ones like popsicles.
Those are the minutas, right? Or are those charamuscas?
Charamuscas.
Charamuscas, that's what they call them. All right. And one other person want to say? I think it's maybe Brody. Which one you want to try the most?
With the sprinkles.
Yeah. The sprinkles and bananas, the choco bananas. Those look good to me too.
And a fun fact, El Salvador has over 20 volcanoes. I think 14 of them are still active. And pretty much everyone just kind of lives around these, but it's a place where you will find a lot of them. Anyone likes volcanoes.
I think we got a couple of comments or questions. Jose?
When you were talking about the foods, it looks like
yes, a lot of these foods that I'm showing y'all you can find on the streets. And I actually was talking to my grandma because she's going back to El Salvador, and she was telling me everything is 50 cents. So a dollar can get you by for, a meal. And here, it's a bit more expensive to get snacks, but there, your dollar can get you any of these things pretty much.
Did you have a question, Carol Jean, or no?
I the icicles.
Oh, you want to try those ones? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So before we,
They look yummy.
they look good. Yeah. All right. Before we do our last country, Spain, if you guys want to take a wiggle break, you can. If you need to stand up or stretch your arms or shake it out, you can wiggle a little bit before we do the last country. All right. So Ava's going to teach us a little bit about Spain.
Spain is located, I don't know if you remember the maps from earlier, but it's across the ocean from us. So it's farther away than the other two countries that we talked about. And when I traveled there, I went to a region or a city called Barcelona, which is on the second picture. It shows you where that is. So the capital of Spain is Madrid, and it's located right in the center of the country, so it's easy to find. And the language is Spanish, but they speak a bunch of different languages. So in the region that I was in, they speak Catalan, which is similar to Spanish, but it's difficult to understand if you only know Spanish. And so Spain is made up of 17 different regions. So all of the colors on that map are different regions. And then within the regions are other provinces too. So just like smaller territories. So they have a lot of distinctions. And Spain is located on the Iberian Peninsula right next to Portugal too. So that's the whole part of the land that Spain is on. So here are some pictures of Spain. In Barcelona, that's the Thinking Bull. That's kind of a famous statue. And then right below it is La Sagrada Familia, which is a beautiful building. And then we have some restaurants in Spain. And they have these restaurants called tapa bars. Where they serve a bunch of different plates. So you see all the food out there. And then there's a plaza in Barcelona. It's a very famous one. And then I also traveled to the coast. So that's the Mediterranean Sea right there.
I have a Sagrada Familia behind me. Picture that cathedral. All right.
So in Spain, they have these big open markets. And actually in Barcelona, there's La Boqueria, which is, I think, the oldest fresh market in Europe. And it's 800 years old, I think, so very old. And they have all of these different stands where you can buy meat, you can buy like fresh vegetables and fruits. You can even get tapas there, which are like the small foods. And you can get cheeses, and it's all open air. So that's different from the groceries that we have here that are all inside, and there's not individual people selling different things.
Where do you guys get your groceries? Do you go grocery shopping with your parents? What stores do you go to? You can raise your hand if you want to tell us. See if I can get your names. Layla, where do you guys get your groceries?
Piggly Wiggly.
Piggly Wiggly. All right, who else? Abby, where do you guys go shopping?
Walmart and Piggly Wiggly.
Yeah. And Keisha, I think maybe I see you again. Keisha?
Fresh Market.
Go to Fresh Market? All right, so you guys go to some different places. So yeah, in Spain they have these, like Ava was saying, these open air markets, kind of like a farmer's market where you can go outside and buy your food. But they do also have grocery stores that are indoors, like Piggly Wiggly or Fresh Market, where you can, so they have a couple of different kinds there.
So in Spain, like I was saying, they have these things called tapas, where it's these small dishes. So it's typical for when you go out to eat at night. Instead of going to a restaurant and ordering one meal like we might here, you go to one bar or restaurant and you get like small individual servings of food, and then you'll go to a different place, like a different restaurant, and then get a different dish there, or multiple different dishes there. And so it's like you get to try different snacks at each place. It's very fun. So one typical dish that you might get in Spain are patatas bravas, which are fried potatoes, and then they have like a spicy sauce on top, and they originated in the capital, which is Madrid. Does that remind any of you guys of a food that we have here, the fried potatoes?
Jose?
My grandma cooks potatoes, sweet potatoes.
Yum.
That are kind of like fries.
What do these guys look like? That's something that maybe you would eat here. Do those look like something you eat here? No? What were you
Maybe
thinking?
not in that picture.
Yeah. Would you guys want to try those? Well, who wants to try patatas bravas? Yeah. I really like them. The sauce is really yummy. The sauce that they put on them. That's my favorite part.
So another food that's from Spain are called croquetas, and there's a lot of different types of them, but they are made with milk, butter, and flour, and then they're fried. But there's jamón serrano, which is like a pork croqueta. There's pollo, which is chicken, papa, which is potato, and then arroz, which is rice. So that you can get them in lots of different kinds.
Who wants to try croquetas? Some?
Yeah?
Yeah. Okay. So now you get to pick one. Did you want to explain this one, Eva?
Oh, yeah. So which croqueta would you like to try? So if you wanted to try a pork croqueta, which is the first picture, you could put up a 1. If you wanted to try the chicken, you could put up a 2. And if you wanted to try the rice, you can put up a 3. And there's the different pictures of them. Yeah. Lots of 2s.
Yeah.
I really like hush puppies.
They look kind of like hush puppies, don't they?
Yeah, you're right.
So Spain has a different eating schedule than we do. They eat later at night. And that's because they have this thing in the middle of the day called a siesta, where people will go to work in the morning, and then around mid-afternoon, like 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., they take a break, or like a siesta, which in Spanish means nap. And so people will break from work and have like a long lunch, and then they'll go back to work and then have dinner later at night, like 9 to midnight. So they'll eat a lot later.
Would you guys want to take a nap during the day? Yes or no? Maybe? Yes, I would like a nap.
I would like a nap
or
too.
no? Sometimes kids don't want a nap, but adults
Right.
want a nap. Yeah. Okay. Maybe.
So a fun fact is that we have chocolate thanks to the Spanish. And so chocolate came from the Mayans, which is an ancient civilization in Mesoamerica. But it was brought to Spain, and they started making like hot chocolate with it. And so they'll serve it like how it's being dipped here. Does anyone know what's being dipped in the chocolate? Do you know what that is?
I do.
Jose or Alex, I see some hands. Jose, what do you think that is?
It looks like fries with sugar and chocolate, but I don't think those are fries.
Yeah, what do you think, Alex?
I think they're pretzel sticks.
They look like pretzels to you? What are they, Ava?
They're actually called churros, which are similar to fries, but they're kind of more similar to donuts, like donut sticks. It's fried dough and it is covered in sugar, and it's traditional food of Spain too, traditional dessert.
You're getting me a little bit hungry.
Yeah, good thing we did this after lunch. Hopefully you guys already had lunch. You can maybe have a snack afterwards if your parents say yes.
I didn't have lunch, so.
Yeah. All right, Ava, are you doing this part? Sammy?
So I just want to ask, what did you learn today? It could be anything you learned either from Cuba, El Salvador, or Spain.
What's something that you guys remember from the presentation? If you want to share one thing that you remember or that you liked. I think maybe Carol Jean, you might be frozen, but. Anybody want to share? Brody, do you want to share one thing you remember?
I didn't think that the country that like some things you can buy for $1 for 2 things.
Yep, you remember that in El Salvador you can buy a lot with your dollar? Yeah, you're right. And do you remember what kind of money they use there?
American?
Yep, they use the same money as we use in the United States. Anybody else remember any of the foods that you saw?
This is more stuff that I got from Peru.
Yeah, got some of your stuff out. Jose, what's one thing you remember? Or that you learned?
This, and these.
I was about to say, why is the food so cheap?
Just because there's a lot of people that make them, and so it's very common. Like pupusas take some time to cook, and a lot of people like them, so they're very cheap compared to here. Because here we don't have sometimes the same ingredients, and so there, everything's pretty much a little bit more cheaper.
Also, sometimes in different countries, people earn different amounts of money during the day. And so they might earn, if countries where they earn less money during the day, the prices of things are also going to be maybe a little bit lower. So that's another reason why. Other questions or things you remember? I thought maybe I saw Paris. Yeah. What do you remember, Paris?
I have different stores than us, and they have lots of different foods. And then I remember the thing that looks like the popsicles.
Remember the popsicles from El Salvador? Yep, you're right. So there's different types of stores. We saw you can buy food in a grocery store like in the United States. You can buy food at an outdoor market. You can buy food in the street. And yeah, we saw lots of different desserts today. Maybe one more person. Anybody else? All right, we'll go to the next one.
So we have a few questions for you based off of what you learned today. So for the first one, true or false, if you traveled to Cuba, you would find a lot of fruit there.
If it's true, you think yes, you can do thumbs up. If you think it's false, you can do thumbs down. You guys remember if you can get fruit in Cuba? See lots of thumbs up?
Yeah, you can.
You're right. They have lots of fruit there to pick from.
So the second question, what country are pupusas from? So do you want to hold up a 1 for Cuba, a 2 for Spain, and a 3 for El Salvador?
We saw that video. I see a couple of 3s. What do you guys think? 1, 2, or 3? Yep, you're right. Pupusas are from El Salvador.
Okay, the third question. So which tasty food is popular in Cuba? Is it 1, burgers, 2, pizza, or 3, chips?
Yeah, I see lots of 2s.
Yep, it is. It's pizza. Okay, the last one. What is a traditional Spanish food? So is it 1, patatas bravas? Is it 2, elote? Or 3, tostones?
Yep, you guys have a good memory. I see lots of 1s.
Good job.
Which food would you like to try?
Of all the foods you saw from Cuba, El Salvador, Spain, is there one that you remember the most that you want to try?
So we talked about 3 different countries today, and we talked about all the different food that they have, and it was very different, all the different types. But we only talked about a few different kinds of food, and some of the food that you can try in those different countries, you can try in a lot of different countries too. So, and maybe you'll get to travel there one day and try them yourself.
Yeah, you guys get to travel. We encourage you to try new foods. Sometimes it's scary to try new foods, but sometimes it's really fun, and then they end up to be really tasty. So, yeah.